Hello all, and welcome to the Terminus Directive. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Star Wars Sequel Trilogy, specifically The Rise of Skywalker. I know that this area of Star Wars can be a little controversial, and I do share many of the less than enthusiastic criticisms of these movies, but I think there's still some content here worth discussing. So, let's please try to keep the comments civil, and let's get started. One of the major criticisms about The Rise of Skywalker is that a lot of the characters feel rather uninteresting and unimportant. No character better represents this belief than that of Jannah. Jannah, unfortunately, lacks a whole lot of meaningful character development. She shares a similar backstory to Finn, being a one-time stormtrooper who refused to fire on civilians and then deserted. That's about all we get from her, and she then serves as a support character who could pretty much be filled by anyone in the galaxy. Jannah is pretty unremarkable, which is why nobody really talks about her. While Jannah is a tad dull, I think she has the potential to be redeemed as a character in the expanded universe material. There's something about Jannah's story that strikes me as odd. She specifically tells Finn that she left First Order because of a feeling. And it's not just her. The entire company feels that their orders are wrong. Finn suggests that it's the Force bringing them all together. Certainly, this is true. Very rarely does a significant event happen by chance in the Star Wars universe. But what if there's more to this story? Be aware that we're entering speculation territory here. Jannah is used in the film as a sort of parallel to Finn. Both have similar attitudes centered around a belief that they need to fight for what's right. They're both played by black British actors. They both have this sort of rebellious, unkempt hair. They dress in similar colors. Above all, they both have identical feelings that cause them to defect. As we see throughout the movie, Finn drops here and there that he has developed a connection to the Force. He feels Rey die briefly at the end of the movie, and he has a very noticeable physical reaction. Based on Finn's thoughts about the Force and the way it has guided his actions, I think it seems likely that Jannah has a degree of Force sensitivity in her as well. So, Jannah might be a Force sensitive. That's all well and good. But what about the rest of her company? She mentions that the whole unit mutinied during the Battle of Ansett Island. What if Jannah isn't the only Force sensitive? I'd like to propose the idea that, perhaps, the First Order has been attempting to train and utilize a special Force-sensitive Stormtrooper Corps. What evidence can we look at? The whole company defecting at once certainly could be a hint, albeit one that could be easily waved away if the developers wanted. We know from sources, most notably the Phasma book, that First Order Stormtroopers are conditioned to be extraordinarily loyal, to a degree unmatched even by the Republic's old clone army. For so many troopers to disobey direct orders would suggest that Jannah's company either received exceptionally poor training, or that something else was at play. It's also possible that the company relied on the Force to escape the First Order. While the details of their time after this desertion are pretty limited, it should be noted that they'd managed to stay hidden prior to the Falcon's arrival on Kef Bir. And, considering the kind of Force presence the remains of the second Death Star would have after the battle fought there, it could be that the group was drawn to the crash site specifically by their own senses. The group also seems to show a combat proficiency that goes above and beyond a normal stormtrooper. During the attack on Exegol, Jannah's troops launch a borderline suicidal assault against Allegiant General Pride's flagship. They ride mounts rather than speeders and seem to prefer low-tech weapons such as bows over more advanced blasters. The group seems to be more attuned with nature than is normal, a trait often seen in Force-sensitive beings. The fact that they are able to succeed against the elite Sith troopers of Palpatine's Final Order could suggest the heightened reaction times seen in Force users. There's also some evidence that the First Order was seeking out information about the Force. Of all places, this comes from the animated Resistance TV show. While the show is heavily stylized for a much younger audience, it does offer some insights. During the first season, a pair of children wind up on the Colossus, the refueling station that's the main setting for the show. There is a 20,000 credit bounty on the two, presumably to be brought back alive if possible. While it seems at first that the First Order is just hunting survivors who might serve as witnesses to an atrocity, it slowly built up throughout the show that the children are Force-sensitive, or at least one of them is. A Season 2 episode also features a Sith temple that the First Order is investigating, and it appears that they have a special unit of stormtroopers specifically assigned to investigate various Force artifacts. This suggests that the Order has at least some vested interest in the military applications of the dark side. Certainly, the benefits of having a unit of Force-assisted soldiers could be viable. These soldiers will be more effective than the average troops, with exceptional reaction times and a greater capacity for teamwork than even the most cohesive units. The soldiers would presumably be untrained in the ways of a Horse, posing little to no threat to dark side leaders such as Snoke or Kylo Ren. Without training, innate talents of the troopers would certainly help them on the battlefield. So, how likely do I think this theory is? I'll admit it's a bit far-fetched. On the other hand, the potential for a Force-sensitive military unit would be virtually unmatched. Think, for instance, of the Jedi mind melds and battle meditations of Legends. A full company of trained soldiers with such talents would prove invaluable, provided they could be kept in line. What I really like about this idea, though, is that it gives Jannah and her people some purpose. They don't really do anything in the movie. They could easily be replaced by a bunch of normal rebels on speeders, and nobody would bat an eye. Having a backstory like this could make them characters that people actually care about, and could potentially open new storylines for the sequel era as a whole. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, please consider liking and sharing the video. Feel free to subscribe for more Star Wars and sci-fi content. And please, let's remember to try to keep the comment section civil.